morning. We're here at 7 o'clock for the school board meeting. We finished the executive meeting. We're going to exit executive session. Would anyone like to move us to exit?
I'll move it.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Fabulous. With that, we move to the second item of our agenda, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. There is a flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a roll call, and with that I can say that every single member of the board and both members of our student liaisons are with us. Thank you for being here today. And now we go to the good of the order, the board good of the order. I want to say that I got to go see the middle school play. I had never seen Frozen before. It was quite surprising, and it was fantastic. The costumes were amazing. The talent on the stage was amazing. It was quite a show. So kudos. And speaking of talent, kudos to the 3 members of the Voorheesville community who went to the NISMA performance and performed, I think it was last weekend. Okay. So, very musical. I just want to share those, but maybe other good orders. With that, we move to the opportunity for the public to be heard. We have podium, if anyone would like to come and speak at the podium. If not, we can move to item 3.1. We have a cross-country team to recognize.
I want to start off by thanking
Following directions.
So this doesn't do anything? Okay. I want to start off by thanking Mr. McCree and the Board of Education for inviting our cross-country student athletes to the meeting. Mason's not here, but I do want to start off by recognizing Mason Curl. Mason finished 4th overall in the Section 2 Class C boys race. Mason is placed in sectionals for 4 straight seasons, making 4 consecutive trips to the NISFA championships. You can go ahead. And Mason recently signed a national letter of intent to resume his cross-country career next year as a Division I student athlete at St. Bonaventure. So congratulations to Mason. I just tried to do a quick history of this particular group of student athletes, and I believe this is accurate. This is the 6th year in a row our girls cross-country team has won their classification in the Section 2 girls cross-country championships, which is very impressive accomplishment. In cross-country sectionals, in a field of 109 runners at sectionals, Voorheesville student athletes finished in 2nd place overall, 3rd place overall, 14th place overall, 34th place overall, and 36th place overall. And as I said, that's in a field of 109 student athletes. So Voorheesville's top 5 runners all finished in the top 35% of all runners in their classification. So very impressive. This finish at sectionals earned our girls team a trip to the New York State Public High School Athletic Association Championships, where our team finished in 4th place overall. Sophomore Savannah Schmidt finished in 5th place overall, and Savannah earned her 2nd straight trip to the Federation meet. The Federation meet is a meet that combines all 4 New York State interscholastic athletic associations into one meet, and all classifications are combined into one meet. So this is a very prestigious event and a very good accomplishment. So congratulations to Savannah. And once again, our girls cross-country team is also a NISFA scholar athlete team, which means 75% of our varsity roster maintain a grade point average of 90 or better during the course of the season. So a lot to be proud of. We have certificates for you. When I call your name, please come forward, and then I believe the board is going to want a picture with the group. Grace Coffey. Is Grace here? Mary Genovese. Avery Grant. Marley Grant. Shayla Hyman. Alana McCarthy. Selma Sayahi. Savannah Schmidt. And Alice Vicio. And we also have Mason, who is not here. Congratulations once again. Come on forward. I believe we want to take some pictures.
Jess wants to. Just a minute, I'll do it. Do you guys want to be in this photo or?
No, just
Yeah, get in it though. Yeah, Joe. Sorry, guys.
Neglected to congratulate our head coach, Joe Becker. Congratulations, coach. Thank you, and you are all free to be dismissed. Thank you.
If you guys want to stick around, there might be something about tomorrow's schedule. If you just want to stay through the, or you can hear about it from someone who will text you. That's me.
After I speak, how about that? Then you guys can, if you want to stay
Two more
for it.
items on the agenda.
It's nothing super exciting, so.
He's turning red, so that might, what's not exciting to him might be exciting. I don't know. With that, we move to the next item on the agenda. Thank you guys for being here. Before we do that, just very impressive. It's been great following your season, and wish you all the best. May the wind always be at your back, unless it counts against you somehow. The student board member report, we have two student board members here. Would you guys like to get the report?
First, I have a couple notes about the music, which you already mentioned. As we all know, the middle school drum show was this weekend. Everyone did fabulous. Thank you so much to everyone who helped make it possible. It looked great. The kids did awesome. It was such a success.
much. With that, thank you for the cabaret from that. Someone's been cut that there and mentioned it. Superintendent's report.
I'm trying to play something and it won't connect. There it is. Okay, so there is a 99% chance tomorrow that we will have a snow day. So, based off of everything that's there, decision's going to be made at 5 o'clock tomorrow. But there is 5 a.m. So the decision's going to be made. But given the track that's on the weather right now, there is a 99% chance that there will be a snow day tomorrow. Always a chance that I could be wrong. So we can remember that. It'd be too hard to lay and look at it, but most likely, given everything that they've been saying, it just seems like it's going to be a snow day. Not calling it early though. We'll not do that. We'll not gamble. But
Set your alarm for 5 o'clock.
good chance by 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:15, you'll see a parent square notification out that it could be a snow day. That's what you do. No one else knows but you guys.
And now you can leave.
Is that,
Thank you.
Thank you. You
that
can
gets rid of a Friday, right?
I don't know which, no, I think it's sort of a Tuesday.
Tuesday. It starts with Tuesday.
Oh, it's Tuesday?
It gets rid of Tuesday.
Man.
Gets rid of Tuesday.
Rooms are so cheap. That week. Yeah. I was hoping they got rid of the Friday.
So, and one thing I wanted to share is now, along with my report, is if you look, there is a picture of me and the mascot, and that is actually the mascot right there. And that is actually Mr. Bavenzio wearing the mascot. So it finally came in. So we have it here thanks to Albany County as part of our grant that we applied for. And this goes along with our BIRDS mantra that we use K-12, not just for athletics, but across the board. To be able to share the BIRDS message throughout the community, be inclusive, responsible, dedicated, and strong. That mascot will help do all those things. And it's taken almost 2 years for to go from an idea to fruition, and then another 6 months after we paid for it to get here. So it's been a long, long time. So it did get here. It is there. There is a little fan on the inside. I did wear it on the first day. It is awfully hot, but it's here. The next thing is we will be working on a naming competition, because the mascot currently does not have a name. So we're going to be doing a K-12 naming mascot and voting and all the fun stuff that goes along with that. But mascots finally.
Can you reveal the identity of the person who will be wearing the costume, or is that just bad form?
It's bad form because there are multiple students who want to wear, and adults, by the way.
Not surprised.
Yeah, there are multiple students and a couple adults, Mr. Christie. But there's multiple students and adults who do want to wear the mascot, and they also get volunteer hours. So there's another great way for National Honor Society students, for seniors who need volunteer hours to also get it. But we have kids chomping at the bit to wear the mascot. So,
Yeah, how's it clean out?
yeah, we got a little spray, but you have to have professional cleaning done every once in a while. And, yeah, it's,
I sense a hoppy glow to that.
yeah. But it is, again, this is a more professional mascot. It's got the little fan on the inside of it. It's definitely got a little bit more breathable areas in it, so it hopefully will be better. So, capital project update. This one's not going to be very exciting because it's not been a ton of changes. It's just ongoing. But here's the cool thing. We did have another capital project that we're doing at the same time because, as you know, we do multiple capital projects at a time. We're crazy like that, and we do a lot of things getting them done. But we do our capital outlay every year. That's the $100,000 project. This past weekend, they worked on the roof at the middle school and high school. So the amazing leak, I like to call it, that's been around for the last 10 years, next to the cafeteria, where the middle school gym meets that hallway, that crazy area there where we've had a bunch of issues. That was really tackled over the weekend, along with the leak over near the PAC. That is also was addressed this weekend. We're still going to get a ladder to get us up onto the high part of the PAC, so they're not putting a giant ladder up there, because that's extremely dangerous. But the roofing has been addressed and been done this weekend, so we were pretty happy about that. If you look at the elementary school, the new little asphalt area where the bus parking used to be, it's a smaller amount of area. That's going to be really for the storage building. Storage building is a prefab building. Most likely, we're not going to be able to get that into the spring at this point because of thaw and other cement issues. The asphalt that's there, that is the first coat of asphalt. So there's typically 2 coats. If you remember, we did this with the transportation facility as well. You lay 1 coat down, but given the time and the weather, you don't want to lay another one down because you have thaw and other issues with freezing. So in order to be able to have the integrity up, we've opted just to lay down 1 coat, and then in the springtime, they'll come back and they'll do the second coat. So it'll make sure that it will last for a long time coming. The gate for that area, because right now it's cones, the gate is actually being installed on Friday, supposedly. So hopefully we'll see it on Friday. There is going to be no parking. It's not going to be designated parking area back
So
there.
it's not usable until.
It's usable, but it's going, you can use it now, and you can continue to use it like I parked there today, but it's not designated parking where we can have long-term parking there. National Grid does not want us to have long-term parking as we did with the buses. They do not want that. So we can have short-term parking, like parents visiting, me going down the building, someone stopping with there, but also with the storage building right there, food truck. But with the storage building being right there, you can't have things overnight because you'll block that storage area. So it's a much smaller.
And so this is like in perpetuity, right? Not.
This is forever, yes.
Correct, yeah.
National Grid does not want us to have overnight parking there or long-term parking.
So just overnight, so I
Correct.
think it was going to be staff, it was going to be staff.
We can park there a little bit at a time, like authorized vehicles only.
Yeah, we can park there during the day.
Yeah,
As long as it's not overnight.
correct, or long-term.
So,
Like the buses were there constantly. That was
Yeah, they were
designated
there
parking.
overnight and all the time.
We cannot have designated parking.
but could that be like when certain staff members get awarded the prize and getting,
Yeah, well, right now they already take Mr. Vivenzi's parking there already.
so they could keep those?
Yep. So, and just so everyone knows, that area right there underneath the line, that is actually owned by National Grid. That's National Grid's property, that is not the school's property. So National Grid owns that, we have an easement to utilize it, to make upgrades to it, to utilize our facilities, but that is National Grid's. So they do dictate what we can and cannot do with that property. So the busing component of it, can't do that again, but short-term we totally do that. So, but that's exciting. Other than that, really, not a ton of stuff going on. The elementary skills still moving forward, same plan as it has been. Any questions?
I don't remember, just if you could refresh my memory, because I was driving by today and had a community member ask and I couldn't remember. Is the roof line in the bus garage going to stay the same?
Yes.
Is that tall middle? Okay.
That stays exactly the same. It's not going to have an outside garden on top of it, because that's what some kids thought. There was a rumor going around that above it is going to be outside eating area, not happening. That roof line stays, because again, to change that roof line would be
Right.
cost and everything else.
That's what I figured.
So they're going to re-brick it, there's going to be windows, it's going to be shaded. So, yeah. Other questions, thoughts, elementary school? All right. Oh, and the rubber floor is down at the elementary school. So if you go down to the first floor, to the basement, I call it the first floor, you'll actually see the rubber floor that we're getting on the whole first floor. It looks like this, except it's wider tile, so you can't even, it's even more uniform. But the nice thing about the rubber floors are they're durable, they have higher traction than these floors do. They also are more sound resistant because of the rubber. And the beauty part is you just clean it with a Zamboni and mop and water. You never have to strip it, you never use chemicals, and the man hours in order to utilize it is less too, so staff hours. So it's good.
So not for now, but at some point, can you let us know how we're doing on costs and whether there'll be extras for any of the fun stuff that we
Yeah. So,
left off? I know we talked about the foundation and that.
so right now, Colleen and I have been having these conversations, and really, again, we can't give you a good answer if there's going to be extras. Given what we currently know right now, it's going to be very limited of what we're going to be able to do. With the foundation, with the water main, with other potential issues that are, popping up, it's going to be limited, maybe flooring, maybe some other things. We're hoping to get some stuff. But it'd be nice to get the second and third floor, because we're hoping for, like, I'd love to see rubber floors on all the floors, maybe painting, but we're not going to be able to get some of the higher level things. I don't think we're going to be able to get, like, the library finished. Some of the other things I would want it. I don't know if we're going to be able to get all those things, and it really is all dependent on how much we use in our allowances and everything else. But right now, we are watching all of that budget very, very carefully. Hoping the floors, that's what I even said to you the other day, I was like, really would love to see those floors go. But we're not going to know that probably until spring. Yeah, that's.
Still looking like on time for trip.
So I was down there today looking at it. I had a couple questions for our construction manager. The first floor where the music art room is, all those areas, the nurse's office, the new entryway in is looking February. What's going to be tricky is the new entryway in the high school and elementary school office is also, the elementary school office is also part of the old transportation facility, which currently has no ceiling, no wall, and completely open because we're doing all our work in there. That's where like the office area is, where the meeting room is. So that's not going to be open. So there's going to be a possibility of half of the office being ready and half of the office not being ready. That's going to be the tricky component. But the entryway, the music, art rooms, those areas should be done by February. I just saw a recent schedule in this week. I was a little concerned looking at it. We were telling me that. Still good. And last one, I just want to do Parent Square. I had Jessica add it today, just a couple little updates. So as you know, we moved over to Parent Square from School Messenger. There's been a shift in the way that we do communication as well, making sure that it's streamlined or how those different things work. So here are a couple really neat things about Parent Square. 99.7% of students have at least one contact with a parent or guardian. So 99.7% of our student population is people to get a hold of. There is 0.3% that have not signed up for Parent Square or has the ability for Parent Square. That's much better than we've ever done before with school notification systems.
Is that like one or two?
One that we've reached out to. One person, yep. Since September 1st, faculty and staff at the elementary, middle, high school, and district office combined have sent 994 votes. So 994. More than 9,000 direct messages have been exchanged across 2,600 threads. So just like a data component of the amount of communications, targeted communication that's happening now as well. It's not just one-off communication K-5. It's not, these instant messages, these direct messages, these threads, these are, teachers able to send pictures out to their class very easily out back to the community, get those students back and forth. More than we have created 71 groups to support direct communication between special interests like PTAs, athletic teams, and extracurricular clubs. Again, that was never done there before, never had the opportunity. We now have that opportunity. Teachers, coaches have successfully integrated features such as polls and form requests. So not only are they just sending out that information, but they're able to do forms, permission slips, team polls that they're utilizing. So they're using a little more so than communication, but really to gather data. So I think this is, we've only had it for 3 months now. I think to see the change of the district going forward is something to look at. We're still looking at options of how best not to overload parents. We've gotten complaints and concerns about that. We're sending out another thing in my next newsletter on how to actually search posts in a better way for somebody if you're looking for something, how to find it easily, because that's a little bit of a struggle. You can't direct message, you can't search in direct messages, but we've asked Parent Square to look into that, seeing if they can change their format. So we're continually trying to figure out how to better our communication, but from where we were with School Messenger and what we were doing prior to now, you can see the change.
Do you have any flexibility on the heading? Like, or the subject line, I'm sorry.
Like if somebody
Because
puts down,
they all look the same in the subject line, and I'm not going to say whether I read every single one or not, but it would be helpful sometimes for prioritizing what I do read more thoroughly if there was more descriptiveness in the subject line.
I can bring that back to the team. And that's kind of the reason why I want to be able to search it, because one of the other issues with searching Parent Square is you can't search a date. So it doesn't say I want to search November 10th, you have to search 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. It's like, that becomes very difficult when you're looking for something else. And also, so I'm going to be sending out in my next newsletter in December 18th, 16th, around that time frame, a better way to search for things. So, but I just kind of wanted to share that. I thought that was interesting feedback that we were receiving. And any questions? Yeah, close that. I am done.
All right, with that, we'll move to item 4.1, the minutes of the regular meeting. Any questions? Or would anyone like to move to accept them?
I'll move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving to financial reports. Are there any conversations or would anyone like to move them?
Move it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the claims auditor reports.
I have one question on this for Colleen. So there was the ERS payment that was exceptioned. What I got from reading the reports was that this is kind of optional on whether a PO gets generated or not. Is that,
It's part of the standard practice when it's an annual payment that we have. It's almost like a payroll expense. So it really, to me, should not have been noted as an exception. It's not something that the school district traditionally puts in their PO. We always have it recorded as a liability. It's in there, it's reported as a liability every single year. We have to do that part of the audit. So it's not something that typically is something that you would put under a PO.
okay, yeah, that was my concern, because we've never had this flagged as an exception before. So, okay, thanks. I'm happy to move them.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
With that, we have personnel items, including a bus driver retiring after 20 years. If anyone would like to move this,
I'll move it.
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And congratulations to the district English teacher.
Yes.
Who started today?
Yes. Awesome. And they have tomorrow off. What is the percentage chance? Yeah. With that, we have CSE recommendations and BOCES substitute teacher appointments. Is that okay as a consent agenda? Anyone want to discuss or move 5.4 and 5.5?
I'll move it.
Second?
Second.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have request for non-resident student admission. Any conversation or movement of that?
So are these mid-year moves, like for these new students, or were they new?
I don't know if I can think that.
Oh, okay, all right, never mind. Happy to move them.
Yep. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then there are 2 school buses that are going to be surplus. For transiting to, but the last person in that would usually is high school.
So anyone who wants to build their school bus tiny home?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
this is Frizzle.
Yeah.
Yes,
I don't know what that is.
Oh, I do.
It's a series.
Magic
I highly
Yeah.
recommend Magic School Bus. Are they magic? We'll find out. Or someone will. If we move to surplus them? Anyone?
Let's move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Mrs. Frizzle will let us know. We have a budget calendar to approve, but I would like to bring up something to discuss before we go into moving it. If that's okay with you? There is a question about the rework meeting. It is typically in July. We do have a little bit more leeway because of some legislative moving around, but it would be helpful in some ways to the entirety of the board and possibly new board members, if whatever, for us to have a rework meeting set earlier in our cycle so that we can kind of schedule around it rather than trying to wedge it in when it doesn't necessarily fit. So,
Can I ask, isn't it in the law that we have certain,
So
like a
it just
timeframe?
changed. The regulations stated that it was the 12th, or the first Monday, so there was a specific regulation, and we always waited till June to kind of sneak it in, but then people were on vacation. I was on vacation, whatever, it just became difficult. So the new regulation says we have it up until the 20th of July now. So they've extended that ability, which is great. The governor just signed it into law. So you have up until the 20th, so there's a little bit more time frame for us to be able to have that reorg meeting, which I think is amazing, by the way, just because it's been so tight, like right after July 4th to have it. But getting it early, I think, will allow for people to plan their summers more accordingly.
So, I'm not saying we do that right now, but I'm just saying we might want to officially schedule the reopening meeting. We could probably reopen this to schedule it, or just schedule it,
When you say early, give me an idea.
February, March,
Okay.
April. I don't know.
Don't we have to wait till after the
We
election?
may have new board members, but if we pre-schedule it with hopes that anyone who's planning on running will be aware of that date, then they could have that earliness in knowledge of it as well. And if we need to make the change, we could possibly make the change. Hopefully we don't have to, not suggesting anything other than just trying to ease the logistics of something in July, which has been notoriously difficult.
Yep. Good.
So, just saying, we're not gonna do it tonight, but let's have that in our heads, so, any vacation planning for July, please let me know.
May I make a recommendation?
Absolutely.
Jess could probably do a Calendly, be in this, so that way we can kind of figure out what currently we have booked or what we're thinking having booked. And then from that point, maybe even pick 3 or 4 days that would work.
Yeah.
So that way you have them on toll, and then when we get to February, January, or whenever you want to have a conversation, you have dates to choose from, and you can even have a backup to your backup to your backup.
Yes. So, July 4th, by the way, is a Saturday.
That stinks.
It adds its own little challenges. So, with that in play, Jess, can you do that? And we might schedule that out and we'll note it at the next meeting that we have that date, so it's probably where, hopefully it fits in with whatever we do. Thank you very much. Would anyone like to move the calendar as attached? I'll move it. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Fantastic. With that, we move to old business. Our audit committee meeting will be held when?
January 5th, I believe, is our next meeting.
We'll wait for it. Anything planned for that?
I'm going to defer to Colleen on that. I don't think we have any special topics
Is
planned in this
BPC coming in?
point.
That'll be February,
February, okay.
do a fiscal 5-year plan.
Right, okay.
Writing down. so-
Yeah, right, yeah. No, I don't anticipate any special topics. It should be a pretty quick meeting with just our regular reports.
Curriculum committee, you guys met?
We sure did.
12th or 11th?
Yes, on the 12th, on a Wednesday, yes. So, we started off talking about, they've started this year, sort of like an open enrollment for math, 7, right, Frank? Just called open enrollment, yeah. So normally if students or their families are looking for them to maybe go into an advanced course, once they reach, because there's math 7 and then 7X, right? And then 8th grade, they would take course 1, algebra. Oof, that was flashback, sorry about that. Wow. Normally, that has been based off of usually like scores on state assessments and things like that. If students reach a certain criteria, yes, they're eligible then to go into that advanced math class. This year, what has been trying to do here is students who may not have immediately been sort of targeted for that, getting a chance to go into that higher level math class. And it seems to be going okay so far. I know that Mr. Wood and then the math teachers are really checking in frequently, see how the students are doing, is this working, and it seems to be going okay so far. The next thing that we went over was in June, this coming June 2026 will be the first year for New World Language assessments. It's kind of a big deal. They have not changed in years. And so for the current students in Spanish 3, they will be the first ones to take this new exam in June. And in 2024 was when the 8th graders took the first new version of that exam, which has meant there has been tons of curriculum work being done to revise the world language curriculum here, and so it all aligns with the revised standards. A big thing that we talked about was the school partnering possibly with RPI, a chip fabrication course. And so RPI, along with HVCC, Siemens, and I forget some of the other, Project Lead the Way, are looking to hopefully have 10 districts to sort of use as a pilot for this course, this program rather, and then hopefully maybe we could get it as one of our college and high school programs. Introduction to semiconductor technology and microchip design is what that would be. And I know Frank, you and some others did visit RPI?
Yeah.
Yes.
So myself, the science department chair, leader,
Yep.
and director of curriculum instruction, Karen Conroy. We went, there was about 15 to 20 other schools there as well. Really interesting stuff. And I shared the course syllabus
Yep.
with everybody. And I did say that we're very extremely interested in looking into doing this.
Yeah.
I think we have the ability within our schedules and the ability here. It's a really great idea, and it doesn't just allow for the high level aspect of a student going to be an engineer of chip fab. You could also go and say, well, maybe I want to be a technician, right? So it's that introductory level across the board for chip fab, and it also some of the things about it is not only are you learning how to do chip fabrication, but you're also learning about AI and its implications on it, and will it not work or will work, and some other kind of thought processes that go along with it. So it's not just science-based, it's really thought-based, and it really kind of works you through the whole process of chip manufacturing, considering what we have right around the corner, RPI, HVCC, and other components. I thought it would be a great opportunity for us to be a part of something. So we are definitely looking into this. We are still, exploring it. The budgetary expense is going to be possibly roughly around $5,000. They're saying there's easily going to be grants. We can usually get grants for that. I found grants for less or more before. Also, we're looking at other partnerships with some of the higher level equipment, more expensive equipment that we could share among the groups. But given everybody who's involved in this, it almost seems like a no-brainer to me to have an opportunity for the students.
Is there anything at the Nanotech lab?
So that is going to be part of it. So RPI has a station over there, like a little bit. Right now, it's all housed here, but there's possibilities of us going there. Also, Hudson Valley just had a new course, two something, I don't know what's called, where it's like the second version of this. So they could be going there. So it's not built there yet, but they're hoping to involve all those things. So what I think is this is the base ground of where this can go, and in the years to come, I think it'll be great. Yes. Yeah. And also, speaking of that, we are looking at internships and
Yes.
work-based learning. So shadowing and job shadowing and nanotechs or things like that would be all a great opportunity for students. We currently do not do that program, or have that program, so we're looking at other partnerships as well. So that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Yes, and one other thing, can I share with Robin?
Yeah.
As an update to that is, we met with Bouton School District because they're working on their program as well. Between us and them, we are going to be sending out a survey to our community about, are you interested in partnering? Do you own a business? Do you know somebody who owns a business? Would you be interested in working studying with us or internships or helping our students? So we're trying to get a pool together between our two school districts and then building it from there. Also the work, the chamber with Tim Drawbridge, workforce chamber, I think it is. I'm not going to take too many apologies. I don't remember the name of it. So we're working together with a bunch of groups to really build on our program and redefine our internships and career exploration for our students. Sorry, seniors, you may not be able to involved in that, but the future generations will benefit from it. I solved that problem.
That's okay. No, that's okay. Nope, and then I think the only other thing that we covered I have is the Mobile Museum of Tolerance, sort of how we could possibly fit that in or when we would fit it in. We did not come to a conclusion of how that would work. We didn't know if maybe on a half day or something like a community fair that has happened before. We didn't really come to a conclusion of how we would utilize it.
And I want to just interject something on the math.
Oh, yes.
Because my concern about that course, the accelerated course, is that there were, I think, a handful of kids that were probably going to be counseled out of that class
One
because
student.
they were, it's just one now?
Yeah, just one.
Okay.
Yep. All
And
the
I
others
just,
are
I thought it
88
would
and
be
above.
interesting to track, because I think self-confidence in a subject area is important in success. And I would rather just have kids in and out. It would be interesting to track the child or children, students who are counseled out of it, and just see over the next few years what their math trajectory is like, because I think it can have an impact. That's my own editorial comment.
That's all I have for curriculum.
Facilities, I don't think was met, but, policy did meet the next day, and I believe what you guys will cover will then lead into item 7.1 for the grading system.
It will. So, yes, we did meet. We began with interesting discussion about with the new mascot. We had a discussion of potential policies that might apply to use of the mascot, whether that's licensing or not is yet to be seen. It really was a kind of an introductory discussion. I think where we left that was that we were going to continue to have discussions with council, and council might even possibly provide a presentation for the board in terms of the pros and the cons and what it is that we might want to do in terms of use of the mascot. It does sound like that something is in order. Whether it goes in the direction of licensing is yet to be seen, but I think that certainly members of the committee speak up if I'm mischaracterizing. I think at a minimum, I think that the consensus is that a policy would be in order to govern use and use and purpose for the mascot. So that's going to be an ongoing discussion. The next is in terms of, we have two things that are on the agenda this evening. I'm going to turn to Kathy to explain 1900, which is parent and family involvement. We had that on the agenda last meeting, but we pulled that last moment because it referenced something.
It had site-based teams on it,
Right.
and we just pulled it off and made sure it was updated to
Yeah.
the correct practices.
So it was really a technical change, and
Right.
so that's back on for approval tonight. What's on for technically a first read, I think that this is something that we could have technically under board policy, governance policy, could have put on here as an amendment, but it's really quite a rewrite of the policy. So in the interest of transparency and gathering input from the public, we thought it would be best to put this on as a first read. So 4710 grading systems, it really is a rewrite of the current really broad policy that we have now that I think it's fair to say provides little guidance in terms of what our grading policies are and should be. Now 4710, which again is on a first read, and we invite comment and feedback on this. I think it provides some foundational principles and some more concrete requirements, particularly when it comes to parental notification in terms of student progress. We will be next working on a regulation which is going to fill in some of the gaps in terms of grading policies while maintaining professional independence and judgment of our faculty and staff. One thing that in terms of the regulation, while we went back and forth on whether or not a regulation was necessary, ultimately we think it's necessary, Frank thinks it's necessary because the policies that we currently have are really scattered to the winds. They're housed in student handbooks. Sometimes they are just unwritten institutional knowledge, and so we think it's important that we put these core principles in writing. And in the next meeting, and we're going to be, we've already heard from some stakeholders, but stakeholders have been and will continue to be consulted regarding the regulation. I think we've rescheduled the next meeting to the 19th of December. That's at 2:30, okay? And so that's when we're really going to start to get into the nuts and bolts of the regulations discussion.
I thought it was policy, sorry.
What's that?
I thought that was policy first. Review of the policy with stakeholders.
You probably are correct. But we will then be engaging in a lengthy discussion about the regulation. No, you're right, I misspoke. So with that, that's all I have on policy. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them, but it looks like we have something on student feedback.
Yes, so
May I also share a few key points?
Of course.
So when we started talking about grading, I believe it was almost a year and a half ago, or
At
even
least,
2 years ago,
at
when we
least.
started this conversation. One of the things that the board asked me to do was review policies of other school districts. So that was the first kind of goal that I did, is look at other school districts and policies. Then I started doing stakeholder input and getting input from staff members and from admin and other groups. The policy that you have in front of you today is a mixture of those conversations. It's the way I like to look at it is prior to this, it was kind of open. There was no clear guidance on what grading is. This policy gives the board kind of philosophy and expectation, so it starts to wrap its hands around what grading is. And when the board's number one goals to me was saying, it's still got to be teacher autonomy. I as an administrator, you as a board, we cannot dictate and know exactly what's happening in the classroom. That really truly is the professional's responsibility. So the policy is here. We start throwing in a regulation will kind of guide it, so we at least have our arms wrapped around it, so there's guardrails, understanding where those lead to. So that's kind of why the regulation needs to be there. What Matt was saying was, and here's an example, in our policy, we actually had a regulation. It's like the Regents exam is going to count for X, Y, Z. That's truly a regulation. Changing of grades, that is a regulation. Like, what is the process of how you change a grade in a district? It truly is a regulation. What a minimum grade is. Right now at the high school, a minimum grade is a 50. At the middle school, a minimum grade is a 55. Not written down anywhere. Those are regulations, right? So putting them together, having a conversation, those are what we do. How do we input grades from students who transfer in? That's regulation. So those key components, so the policy will help guide the regulation and give it its kind of framework, but the regulation gives a little bit more process. But all throughout the regulation, when we're talking about it, it still gives teacher autonomy. And that's the goal of what that is. And so what we've been doing is, we shared the first round policy with you, we shared the first round policy with the admin. The admin are now sharing with their building leadership team. The building leadership teams are going to be reviewing it. Everybody has access to it now. They're going to be reviewing it, and then they're going to nominate a couple people to come to our December 19th meeting to share their input on this one. So if there is, so you really are getting voice in this first policy. After the first policy then has its final read, and then it's agreed upon, then the regulation is going to go out to stakeholders, and that's going to go out to building level teams, building leadership teams, faculty meetings, grade level teams. That's when it's really going to start getting ripped apart. And people are going to have voice and comment and different options. A lot of the regulation currently that I kind of talked about currently has our practices. There's maybe one or two small little minute changes that I stole from another district, and you can see that in the policy, but everything else is basically current practice of what we have in our district. So that really is kind of where the policy came from, and kind of just elaborate a little bit more on where Matt was from, and from those conversations. Any questions about the development of the policy? Okay, so then what Michaela did as student board member, she wanted to start looking into student perception, student voice in grading policies. She worked with Mrs. Cardillo and myself, and she actually put out a grading policy survey, and she's going to present it. So I said that I would be her clicker as Michaela presents her grading policies.
So yeah, I sent this out about like the second week of November, and then I just read through all the responses. There were like a few kind of more like multiple choice checkbox answers, and then we had two. There was kind of like short answers. So I read through all those and kind of like pulled together.
Yeah. And 317 students have responded, so
That's a pretty
Is
good
this just
one.
the high school?
it was 9 through 12,
And
yeah,
how many students are there total?
about 350. Yeah,
That
so.
is responsible.
That's great.
And the beauty part is what high schoolers is, they've been K through 8. So they've already experienced grading and their thought process on grading, so they kind of really see it. So she's been able to capture a large amount of our student population.
That's a huge responsibility.
So yeah, so these were the two that were short response. Just ways your teachers would grade, help you learn better, and then anything else on the district to consider. For the ways you wish teachers to grade, a big one was having feedback on more just assignments and just kind of everything in general, like why any question you got wrong is wrong, and what you can do to be more like correct. Another big one was having more clear rubrics on more of a general of everything and how everything is graded. Because I know that they do give out rubrics for bigger projects, but they'd rather have it for more just like little assignments and just overall like how things should be written. We also have less weighted tests and quizzes and grade for participation and effort. These are both a little bit controversial, meaning that some students wanted the opposite, but they were more on like the less weighted tests and quizzes and wanted the participation. Now we have just grade on if we understand the topic and not take points off for small mistakes. That's also just a general like, you know, you only did a calculation error in like the calculator, but then you get a bunch of points off, even though you knew what you were doing. For the other side, we have weighted averages, and especially people wanting more curves for the AP classes. And then these two go together, and they also will go to a different slide that I'll talk about, but having consistency across the grading system between classes, and having single grade consistency being too hard because of advanced classes. I'll talk about more of that when I get to that slide, so it makes more sense. And so here I have things that just showed up in both questions to kind of like emphasize them. So we had test corrections and extra credit always being available, which is like almost every student probably said some form of that. And then we have less harsh on late work, and that more kids want more like homework to be completion grades instead. And then teachers grading sooner. That has been something that's come up with teachers taking a while to grade, especially if you have a quiz or a test, they want just their homework and assignments that they do to be brought back sooner so they can see what they need to work on. So the first question that they got was how much do you agree with the following statements? Blue being strongly disagree to then purple being strongly agree. And so as you can see, this one stands out being strongly agree, and that's extra credit should be offered to improve grades. And then we also have down here, late work should be accepted for partial credit. So that again ties back to what they're saying in the written responses to fully emphasize about those two. And then we have some, like, my teachers clearly explained how my grade is calculated. That was pretty good, agree, and neutral. Grades in my classes reflect what I know and can do. Was a little bit more kind of towards agree, not fully strongly agree, but yeah. And then next they were asked when you think about how teachers grade, what helps you learn the most. So here you can see the biggest was feedback, and then also getting to redo or correct assignments. Again, going back to extra credit, redoing revisions. And then here, getting points for effort, participation, and homework. And then again, the having clear rubrics for checklists. Next, you have what are least fair helpful in learning. So this big one you can see is not allowing retakes or revisions. Just again, circling back to that idea. And then next are kind of counting homework heavily and giving zeros for missing work, going back into the less harsh on the late work. And then here, yeah, taking points off for late work. So then here's the consistency part. This was something Ms. Cardillo wanted me to especially add. So how consistent consistent do grading practices feel across their classes, with majority saying that they're somewhat consistent, then some saying not consistent, and then small not saying very consistent. And then I have these two. Would you rather have consistency across grade levels or content areas and subjects? It's about 2/3 wanting the content areas and subjects. And then here we have, if it was grade levels, would you prefer it across single grades or all grades? And it's a little kind of more mixed, with close to 60% wanting all grades. So just have a more general, kind of encompassing of having more consistency and similar grading systems. And yeah, that's it.
So would you be okay with this being posted along with the agenda so that
Yeah.
students can see it and the members of the
Well, we're gonna take one step further. Would you be okay with me sharing with the full staff?
Yes.
Okay, because that would be part of the district advisory committee, building leadership teams, and also a conversation tool for staff to be able to utilize as they talk about the regulation.
Whatever your answer had been, I was going to say this is a great survey and very interesting to hear. It's really well.
It's a hot topic too. I mean, it's
Yeah.
been on our agenda for so long.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm glad to see it's an issue students care enough about to respond.
Yeah.
Great job.
Thank you for.
Does anyone have any specific questions about anything, or?
When did you give it out and how was it possible to get like at 90% response rate?
It was like November 12th.
Did it get emailed
13th.
out? Was it given in class?
Yeah, Ms. Cardillo had the English classes take time in their class.
So it was one of those in class, let's do it everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, well, fantastic.
So the one thing I'll follow up on, like the points about rubrics and having clear expectations, that's something that we spent some time talking about in our policy committee as being an important kind of like level setting at the beginning of each semester or class, so that students, parents, right, everybody's on the same page as to what counts and why. So I think that's an important one that we did spend time on.
That transparency and clarity
Yeah.
and communication.
Thank you for supporting the policy.
Yeah, and though not a question, more of a comment, I think that this is a perfect example of why student representation on the board is so important and so valuable, because.
Now the governor.
The governor, listen, what can I say? But no, I think this is great, because just like we talk to people out in the community, your community is largely here in the school, and it's important for us to hear what they and you as their representatives have to say, so thank you very much.
With that, let's move into conversation about N7.1 for policy 4710, which is being presented as a first read. So Matt, would you like to lead this conversation? Or policy committee?
Well, I think, I will just say that it's a first read, and I think that it's, for a policy, again, is more of an aspirational framework. I think that it's a good thing, and I think that I certainly don't know what the thinking was in terms of the prior policy that was in place, but this one is just so vastly different, and I think that it achieves what the policy is supposed to, which is to set out the goals of grading, what the purposes of grading are, what your general expectations should be, and again, in the vein of transparency, what it is that students and parents have a right to know, in order to help them succeed, because that's why we're here, is to provide an environment that's conducive for success. And so I think the policy does that. But again, it's a first read. We're going to get some feedback from stakeholders, and I want to take a look at the presentation we just saw to see if there's anything that we might be able to incorporate there and/or into the regulation. But you know, I'm glad that we were able to start to have this conversation.
And as a board, this is our chance to discuss it as the policy goes forward with it further. And so if there's thoughts at this point that we want to bring forward, right? So one thing I was thinking about when I was looking through it and recognizing that this is, I mean, you're talking about like trying to put your arms around it, and it's kind of like trying to hold a rainbow or something, because it does help to have those, you know, guidelines and bumper, you know, rails and everything, and kind of like when you're bowling, I guess. The guardrails are really nice
They're still
for me. Well, you know.
But there's still a lane.
You can put up the bumpers. Yes, and sometimes you do end up in the next lane over. But one thing that I see as a possible challenge, and this has been my mental challenge for a long time, so I don't want to put it on anyone else, but is just that whole idea of students' mastery of a subject is, the goal is of a grade, I think, is to convey their mastery of a subject, but at the same time, sometimes that grade can also include effort and participation, which inherently can be biased in their evaluation. So it's very challenging to evaluate effort and participation without bias. So this policy wisely says to do this without bias. So how do you evaluate mastery uniquely? And perhaps it is that mastery is the grade, but then the comments are participation and effort.
Right, so I think that's something that's we're going to be tackling a little bit more in the regulation. There is a participation component that's a part of it. And I think that's a philosophical question that comes around, because as a music teacher, I was all about participation, right?
Yeah.
It couldn't matter if you mastered it or not, as long as you could actually, if you actually tried to blow a note, even if it was horrible, congratulations, you got a good grade because you were participating. That's a participatory course. World languages is participatory, right? So there's even there's bias. So how is that rubric? How is that defined? How does that weight into your class? How is that participation still motivational, right? Because participating can, you know, if you're not participating, it's not motivational component. So that is a very difficult question that we're going to have to tackle, and that's why we want teachers involved in that conversation.
Right.
Because again, there's 2 educators on the board,
Yeah.
but we're talking about 200 educators who have a better understanding of how this will work. And that even with the regulation, it's still not going to say participation is XYZ. It's going to still give that more, what's it look like? One of the suggestions I made within the regulation was departmental, right? And this is more for high school or secondary, not for elementary school. K-5, it's standards-based, or trimester, it's a little bit different. But having a department conversation, department leaders and chairs work within it, and then those science teachers decide what does their consistent grading look like. The math teachers decide what their consistent grading looks like. The English teachers decide what their consistent grading looks like together as a group. Because an English teacher and a science teacher are going to have very vastly different expectations for grading this. So let's have a policy and a regulation that gives that autonomy to the groups.
And the students seem to put that forward, that it seems like it makes sense to have different grading structures within different bodies of study. And I do get that, but I just say that to me is where a challenge lies.
Are you grading compliancy? Or are you grading competency? Are they understanding?
Right,
Yep.
and you know, if you're going to a doctor, you don't want a doctor who put a lot of effort in but doesn't remember that carbon is signified by the letter C. You want a doctor who actually knows that, for sure. But, you know, good for them for being in class every day at the first row.
And that's why the bias resistance is in there,
Yeah.
such as compliance, such as discipline.
Yeah.
And I totally understand where you're
So
coming
that-
from. It's definitely a difficult conversation, but a well-pointed one.
And there can be training. I mean, there can be PD around that.
Well, it's even having a
Potentially.
conversation.
Right.
I mean, these
And-
conversations aren't had as much.
Right. Because I think the consistency is very.
And for having students who are more quieter people, who are less likely to speak but are very engaged in the class, they're not falling asleep, or whatever, they're really engaged, just they're not talking. That's still, to me, participatory, with their engaged mentally. But that's me personally, not as an educator, just as a, how does that work, and that to me is going to be
But I think if the
big
departments have those conversations, that they'll come to some good points on it.
I think so. I have a lot of faith in the ability of the staff to report raising costs.
And these aren't things that are gonna happen overnight. These are time, it's detailed conversation, time has to get put into it. And, we took a year and a half to get to this point. It's gonna take time to move forward, right? And to do it with voice and do it with, everybody's stakeholder input is very important. But no, I think you have a very good point. There's always those conversations, so.
I'm curious, just put you two on the spot real quick. What would you say is like a reasonable amount of time turnaround for like a test or quiz? Or I should say maybe what's too long? What is a point of time you're like, all right, we should have gotten this back by now?
That's okay.
I'm curious, because students, it's amazing to me, I will have students take a test and literally 30 minutes later, they'll say to me, did you grade it yet? What did you think of what I wrote?
48 hours.
And I'm like, honey, I put it aside and I won't look at that again for literally like 3 days. Sorry, I'm sure it's good though. So like, in students' minds, what is a reasonable or not reasonable amount of time?
And wait, can I tag
Yeah.
on to that? Because I think I heard that getting your homework back before a test was important so that you could study for it. So the same way, what is the same thing for homework?
I think it has to depend on how long or how substantive the quiz or test is. For like a unit test at the end of the unit, 3 weeks is maybe an appropriate amount of time to get that back in. But for a 2-question homework assignment, I would expect that the next day, because it's just so little. I think it would have to be based on length and content.
Okay.
But there are also teachers who will have you take a quiz or a test and will not return it until the next quiz or test is over, and that doesn't feel as helpful because the content is the same on both, or it builds on both. And so not having your answers to the first one kind of sets you at a disadvantage for the second.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's the thing, I know like in AP Bio especially, there's kids that like weren't there for the day of the test, and so then they have to make it up. And that's like they're taking it, and then a whole week later, so then she even said how like the tests are graded, but she's just waiting for those students. And it's like everyone's waiting to get their test that they know is graded. It's like those few students, so we just also have that on our thinking.
So if you don't get them back, like, can you look and see your grade like on eSchool, or you have no idea about it until you physically get it back?
Yeah, sometimes they will put it on the grade book at least, and
Okay.
it's just like a number, we don't actually have like the questions and the answers.
Okay.
So yeah, that's us.
Okay.
You only know if you got a 0 or 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't know what you got wrong or what.
Okay.
I appreciated the comments that helpful feedback would be good, because I remember having kids whose teacher would say, if you wanted any comments, just come and talk to me during office hours. And the Scantron tests, those are usually back, right?
Yeah, those are one of our last year, 6th grade.
I have to say, people aren't really giving a lot of Scantrons. Rachel? It's okay.
It's so old.
It's Google Forms and all sorts of crazy things.
Feeling very old tonight.
And I would just like to encourage educators, please. I do think there is a lot of value in allowing students to make corrections or test retakes. Will that make everything take longer for your teacher? Yes, it absolutely will. However, if the main objective is for you to learn something, you don't really learn as much if I just give something back to you and you're like, well, I got all this wrong. That's that. So I do think there is a lot of value, and I'm glad that students do think so. I know they don't always want to do it, but to at least have the opportunity to redo something. Because sometimes they come in and it just wasn't a good day. They woke up late, they couldn't find what they wanted to wear, their mom's being mean to them. It just really throws off the whole test day. So I do think sometimes having that opportunity to come in fresh, really prepared, definitely helps.
Do you guys have any follow-up?
I'm glad that we're able to give more input for this. I feel like a lot of the times these decisions just kind of go right over students' heads, and that feels a little bit unfair because they do directly affect us. Thanks for listening to keep that going.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. If you hear more information, please feel free to pass it along. Mr. Teresa, conversations ongoing, not likely to be done.
Can I ask, we've had student board members participate in policy committee before. I know you two
It's
are
the time.
probably incredibly busy, but since we're doing our next meeting at 2:30,
December
if
19th.
it's possible, I think it's
8:30
great.
is tough.
Yeah, 8:30, I'm sure you're in class, right? But
Is that a Thursday?
It's a Friday
Friday?
at 2:30.
Is it?
19th is a Friday. Believe.
I don't.
yes, it is.
Is it? Yeah.
I think it'd be great, I mean, to have students there while we're getting input from others to have some back and forth.
Consider yourself invited.
I defer to the chair.
Yeah.
Oh, good,
Do you
no,
want to, it
absolutely.
was his idea to get
That
it.
was the.
I was like, yeah, perfect, I'm glad you said my idea,
Yeah.
thank you.
No, I'm actually just sitting here as you're saying this going, why didn't I think of that? No, it's, and the timing does, really present the big obstacle, but it presents an opportunity, this time. So, I'll leave it to, Frank and you to figure out who of you might attend, if not both, but I think it's a great idea. Hold on.
Anything else on this topic? We don't do anything with the first read, so we just discussed it. Thank you for that presentation. And that will be attached to this meeting and sent out to the student body, perhaps. Fantastic, to that diagram. With that, we move to policy 1900, if everyone's okay with that. Are we good with moving to 1900? Yep. This one is actually up for a vote, if anyone would like to discuss it or just move it.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have some corrective action plans. Anyone that's related to audit?
Yeah, I'll jump in. This is kind of standard procedure when you have a finding in an audit report, is to respond to the finding. So for both of these issues, we're agreeing with the finding. As we discussed at the last audit committee on the extracurricular, we acknowledge the finding, but we don't really agree with it, so we're gonna keep doing what we're doing. And then on the other, with respect to financial reporting, we agree with the finding, and Colleen's working on those changes and we're implementing them.
Fantastic. Would anyone like to discuss?
Where do these go? Do they get filed with SED
Yeah.
or? They
Yeah,
do?
we filed
Okay.
an SED.
Okay.
Discuss moving?
I'll move them.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Fabulous. Tax collector report. Discuss, move,
I'll move it.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
We had, the Durbin family has come forward with offers of very generous donations towards the principal discretionary fund and the backpack program. And as a very generous thing, they're doing the story of it is pretty beautiful. Roger Durbin graduated from Voorheesville 56 years ago, passed away in 2020, and stayed, maintained the childhood home. So that story is printed, and Roger Durbin was proud of Voorheesville, and these donations are imaging his name, is my understanding. So, with that, we just want to acknowledge the Durbin family and the generosity and the Roger Durbin. And also the Hannaford discretionary donation as well to the discretionary funds with things to Hannaford donation for that. If there's any discussion or
Can I ask, how did the Hannaford donations happen? Like, is there just a regional, like the stores are in?
the store picks, I think, and like
Based
a
on-
monthly, they have like a monthly
Yep.
donation, so you can round up or you can money or not.
Right, okay, so that's where it comes from.
What their
I wasn't sure if it was coming out of that or some corporate level.
I believe this is the store.
Okay.
I think this is the store.
I think.
Where's this here? I don't know. It's from Hannaford House, but we can find out.
Yeah. Just curious now.
Yeah. Would anyone like to move it?
I'll move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next thing we have to do is actually move the money that is from Hannaford and the Durbin family to the discretionary
Let's
funds.
take that money.
So that is item 7.6. Would anyone like to move those?
I'll move it.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And with that, we
The
move to
amount,
the
that's what I was
opportunity.
looking at
Wait,
also.
what?
The amount?
What
Can you just go backwards for a second?
Oh, that was just the money from the discretionary, not the backpack program.
Oh, just discretionary,
So
understood.
it's just the
Thank
first,
you.
the first and the third items.
Okay.
So it was 56.75.
Okay, gotcha.
Which is what, yes. Good math. Opportunity for the public to be heard. We have a second opportunity for the public to be heard.
Not even one here.
Yeah, well,
No.
there's
we're all
a couple
heard.
people.
Maybe should I get up?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Don't handle it like that, so sorry.
My name is Lisa Pelletieri. I wasn't actually planning on speaking, but I just want to say that your survey of the students was great, and your presentation on that was really polished, and good job. I thought the information that was gathered is really probably going to be very helpful for folks developing the policy. So I think that you should be really proud of the work that you did. From a parent's perspective, you asked the students what they felt about timing of grades entering the grade book, or even just maybe being graded in general. And I just want to offer a parent's perspective, because I've been pretty vocal on grades for the past year plus, maybe a little over a year. I think that is a significant problem at the school, and that maybe should be written into the policy if it's not something that is actually written into the policy right now. I think there's an understanding about how frequently grades get entered into the grade book, but that is not happening. I have 2 kids in the school in 2 different grades, and this has been a problem for a number of years. It's not just 1 year or half of a year. It's not just one area, subject area. It's all grades, all classes. And for a specific example, I recently had a situation where one of my kids was missing 3 grades at the end of October. 2 of those 3 that were missing were 4 and 6 weeks past the date that the assignment happened. And so that offers no feedback for parents. The parent portal is supposed to be a tool for parents, but if there's no data in that program, then it's a pretty useless tool. So I'm happy that this is being taken up by the school, or that it has been sort of on the agenda for a while now. I think that Ms. Cardillo is pretty passionate about grades, so I'm happy to see that maybe there's some movement with her coming on board, but I do think that this is something that needs to be figured out for parents and for students. I mean, that's pretty terrible for students. If they can't figure out why they did something wrong on an assignment so they can try to improve going forward, I don't understand that. I think that that's pretty weak and not doing your, following up with your responsibility as a teacher to the students. So, thanks.
Thank you.
With that, we have the opportunity for the board to be heard. Everybody wants to move forward. We continue gratitude to the community and to the stakeholders who will be part of the conversations, the staff members who are working Saturday afternoon, holiday season, which is a busy one. And to all people who are going to be putting their pajamas on inside out, backwards, and the students are going to be under their clothes between 5 and 5:15 is the time to go.
Like Paul Cayano said that it's probably most likely going to be a snow day, so he's actually quoted on.
These kids are going to be really
It
disappointed.
really says,
They ran out of here
says
and
the kicker
texted all
for
the
this storm
press.
isn't necessarily what we'll get before school starts, but what we'll get as the day goes on. School superintendents will want to make sure the ride home for school will be just as safe as the ride in. So, which is absolutely correct on. Ken Young is right on point with Paul Cayano.
Okay. With that, our dates to remember, obviously December 19th is the next policy committee meeting, at 2:30 on a Friday afternoon. And people can sit in and listen to that, but it is not a public opportunity for comment type of event. It is held in the district office. So if there are students who want to listen to policy being discussed, there are folding chairs that can be thrown out. It's very exciting stuff. It's also recorded, must-see TV, put it up on your TV screen, it's so fun.
And I'll just say, Rachel, like, for any community member who's watching, the draft is out there. Send us your feedback.
Yes.
We want to consider it.
BCSD email goes to the board members that, sorry, not the student board members, but the board members of the district. Great. And we listen, so thank you. VCSD@voorheesville.org. But the next board meeting will be preceded by an audit committee meeting, probably not starting at 6 o'clock, it sounds like. But we will have the board meeting immediately following it, and that will be January 5th, which means we wish you all a very happy and safe holiday season, maybe filled with warmth, light, and time with family and loved ones, whether they and may your next year begin and continue with joy and health. So, thank you all. That, would anyone like to move to adjourn?
I'll move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, ladies.